A brief content warning. This episode of Least Haunted discusses certain topics that members of the audience might find distressing. These include police brutality, general acts of violence, sexual assault, suicide, and potentially murder. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, dig for bones.
Hello, and welcome to the Least Haunted Podcast, a place where science, skepticism, humor, and anthropology meet to discuss all things spooky, haunting, supernatural, and sometimes just the plain ridiculous. I'm your host, Cody Franks, and joining me as almost always is gathering guesses and guidance on ghastly goings-on, devious disappearances and deviously disguised dastardly doings, falteringly finding the fruit...
Falteringly finding the fruit.
And devious happened twice. Uh-oh.
Oh, is that not a thing? You can't have the same word twice? I guess that feels...
It feels... okay, I'm going to try it over again. Sorry.
You gonna start over?
Yeah.
All right.
I got to get the flow. Give me a beat.
Finding the flow, ghastly... Okay.
Gathering guesses and guidance on ghastly goings-on, devious disappearances, and deviously disguised dastardly doings, falteringly finding the frightfully forgotten 411.
Garth. Hi, everybody. It's me. The forgotten 411. Hey, that was a great one. Nice moniker. Great to be here. Love the Least Haunted Podcast. Big fan.
Big fan.
Happy to be here.
First time caller. What?
Yeah, I've never called into this podcast.
Oh man, if we had live call in, that'd be kind of crazy.
Oh, that would
We'd
be
have to do live.
That would. Yeah, we couldn't do. There was some. What was the pre-taped show? I think that must have been Mr. Show, when they were doing a pre-taped show and it was a call-in and no one was calling.
Good evening and welcome to the pre-taped call-in show where we tape all our shows a week in advance.
That's gotta have been it. Who did that moniker, Cody?
That was Ken with two N's.
Funny you should mention Ken with two N's because I've got an envelope here that says Ken
Johnson?
Would you like to do the honors, Mr.
We need
Mr.
we got a
Franks?
letter song, you know. We got a letter.
Oh yeah, the letter
we got
song.
A letter.
Oh no, I've got a letter song right here. Hold on. Shit, where's my keyboard? Hold on. Oh, it's the most shows have a mailbag. We have a mailbox.
I don't know why I'm opening the letter in a weird way.
Cody is carefully tearing little bits off of the end of the letter. We don't have an official Least Haunted letter opener. He just blew into the letter.
I'm doing my best Johnny Carson Karnak impression, you know? That's how he'd tear the end of the envelope off and then blow into it.
I was going to say, you're not wearing a turban, but...
We're not going to go that way. We're not, you know, looking to get canceled here.
No.
Anything else? That's why you blow in the envelope, Garth.
To check to see?
You got to peel it apart. Okay, we got...
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, some stickers.
Ooh.
And a note.
Ooh, it looks like a handwritten note on torn off paper from a notebook. I would say that's not 100% 8.5 by 11, more like a A3 maybe. No, I don't know.
Oh,
what are you laughing at?
Oh,
He's not laughing at me,
the
people.
Stickers, no, sorry, the stickers. I was not listening to Garth. I was looking at the stickers, and
What
one
do
of
we
them just
got
fucking
here?
kills me. Okay, so I'll read the letter while Garth is looking at the stickers. Here are some stickers that make me think of you guys and are much easier to send than the statue and art print that should be in your possession long before you see this letter.
We have the statue. It's waiting for some room on the Least Haunted mantle, which is a disaster that I need to clean up. The cool statue, by the way.
Yeah.
These are great stickers.
I forgot that. Yeah, that. Seeing Ken and Joshua Tree. If you want to know more about that, listen to the Polterbites. But yeah, he brought us a statue and a really cool print of a UFO abducting a mezcal plant. The letter continues. It says, I had some others that have disappeared somewhere in my house. The spaceship sticker is specifically for Garth because space.
Love it.
And the others will be up to you both to divide. Hope you like them. I'll see Cody in about 3 days and change from time of writing. Ken with two N's. Oh, drew a little picture of himself.
Thank you, Ken. Oh, I'd like to see the picture of
I
himself.
also love that the stationery
Self-portrait?
on the corner says sparkle wherever you go.
Hell
Fuck yeah, Ken.
yeah. There he is. Yep, that's a very good likeness. I've seen him. Not in person, but I saw him on the internets. That's him. Thank you so much, Ken. This is absolutely wonderful. We've got a nice little pile of letters from people. I'm gonna put it in there.
We got also another.
Yeah,
package.
there's another package. Boy, our cup runneth over. It's a good thing we have this
That was
PO
some good
box.
ASMR. Listen to that thing open.
Oh, the
it
air
is
of San Jose in there.
It is a tube.
This is a mystery. It's from someone that we do not know who they are.
This is from Margaret.
Do you smell the anthrax in there, Cody?
Margaret Takelet, Tyslet. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. You can correct us. It's addressed to Cody and Garth, and it is a tube. And
It looks like a poster.
There might be a letter in there that will explain more.
Cody is ketchuping the tube as if it was
non-Newtonian fluid.
as if
Everyone knows.
You know how you get
posters
ketchup
are
out of a
non-Newtonian
glass.
fluid.
How you get ketchup out of a glass jar.
Oh man, I might need to. Do you have anything sharp that I can? cut
Oh,
and paste
Cody,
together?
you're in an artist studio. I've got a million sharp things. Let me get my little box cutter.
I don't know if I should be comforted by that or not.
Oh, I don't even let the cats in
Actually,
here.
I
There are
totally-
so many very sharp things around
I
here.
think we just need to cut.
Let me see.
There's tape at the end that needs to
Okay.
be cut very lightly.
Yeah, okay, hold
Because
on.
if you go too far, you'll cut the thing inside the tube. This is a delicate operation, Garth.
Where did my box cutter go? Shit.
This will be edited for time.
Hold on.
Do-do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Oh, it's right here.
Oh, there it is. Do-do-do-do-do-do.
I went around the world to find that it was only a hand's length away. Okay, here we go. I just unfurled my box cutter more fully. Got this little mini box cutter, and I'm cutting along the rim. It's a cylinder, and the end is capped with a plastic cap, and it's all taped down. So I'm cutting all the tape around the cap.
He is making a small incision.
I'm making a small incision. Cody, could you dab my brow? I'm sweating a little bit.
I think there might be an easier way to do
Oh, I'm sure there is.
that.
All right, I got most of the way around.
You
Oh,
sure that-
I just got that off.
Okay, now you should be able to pull it out. You want to do the honors on this?
All right,
Since
here we go. Carefully. Now, I'm pulling out a poster, so you don't want to just...
Yeah,
I'm
twist
kind
it
of
a little.
twisting as I pull because it's curled up, but I don't want it to
This thing looks like
spin
it's
out. It
big,
looks like
whatever
an
it is.
old poster.
Whatever it is, it's big.
Okay.
Because there's more
I
than
think
one thing
there's
in
more
there.
than one thing. So let's
Okay.
see with the first one. You can take the next one out. Oh, sweet. It's like an old... What is this?
It's got a locker?
It's like a collage. Whoa, this is cool. KOME 98.5.
Whoa!
This is like an 80s calendar.
Dude, KOME does not... Wow.
1983. This is an 83 collage calendar full of like pop stuff from the 80s.
And KOME
And
was
it
our
look- and it
local...
looks-
was the local music station.
I think this is legit like... Yeah, copyright 1982. So this would have been for the
What?
next year, 83. I think this is like old paper. I think this might be like an original. Whoa, this is
Whoa,
super
whoa,
cool.
whoa, whoa.
We're
And
gonna
then-
take pictures of this and put it on our thing. Twilight Zone poster.
A Twilight Zone
What
poster.
is that for? That's like the font for the TV show, I think. But it looks like it was made in like the 80s because
It
it's in
could be,
color.
it could be a movie poster.
I think the movie had a different font.
Hallmark cards.
Maybe.
Made in USA.
Wow,
There's not a date on it.
these are really cool. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. What was the other person's
Margaret?
name? Thank you so much.
But I wish there was
is there a note or
letter.
anything?
No, I don't.
Oh, well, maybe part of the.
Is this a mystery?
I think it's a mystery.
Are we in the Twilight Zone?
I'm gonna tack it up above. Okay,
Wait,
so
let me look at this calendar real
yeah,
quick.
this
I'm
is
sorry,
fucking
this is like
sweet.
this is really cool, and I'm sorry, we'll get to like the main topic.
Yeah.
This
This is
amazing.
this is a long intro, but it's so neat.
I was wondering if like anything in the dates, if there was anything,
I don't think so. I think these are like original old posters.
where does it say 1983?
Well, each. So
Oh, I see.
Yeah, each of the months has it, and it also says copyright 82 on the bottom. That is very fucking cool. Thank you so much, Margaret. Was it
Yeah,
Margaret? Thank you so much, Margaret.
but like,
I love it. Because we're 80s kids, Cody.
well, I was born in '86. No, but the thing that is interesting is that they know that we would know, like that they know that we're local enough that KOME
Well,
would
the
mean
address
something.
was from San Jose.
Yeah. Okay.
So this was sent by a local listener.
but a local.
I don't know anyone named Margaret. My grandmother's name was Margaret, but I don't think that's her.
Well,
She,
other nicknames for Margaret can be
Maggie.
Peggy. Isn't that
Peggy, maybe. I don't know any Maggie.
I mean, my
from Peggy.
mother-in-law's name is Peggy, but that's not her last name.
No.
I don't know why. Oh, we need
Cool.
more info.
I
Margaret,
guess,
please,
yeah.
please reach
let,
out.
let us know who you are. Reach out. But it's neat to know that there's just random people out there listening. And thank you so much for sending this to us. We're gonna put it up in Least Haunted headquarters here. And
I'm gonna feel really bad if you're somebody I know and I can't remember why.
That's more likely it's someone I know and I don't remember their name.
But we are gonna send you back some stickers.
Yeah. We'll send you some
address.
swag.
Some
and
swag.
if you want to send anything to us, PO Box 22, Redwood Estates, California 95044.
Yep.
And
And we'll
open it on air like this because this is it's like Christmas, guys.
Yeah, no, we
It's
might
so
have to
cool.
start doing mail call video, like
I think
unboxing.
so, yeah, because
if we get enough.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea, Cody, because this was delightful for us, but it was mostly a visual experience. I was doing my best to describe it, but we'll do a video version next time.
I feel like there's a mystery here.
I like it.
I'm really liking this. And speaking of mysteries, it's
Yeah.
time for us to get to the final topic.
Final
No,
countdown.
to the today's topic. So, spend some time. God, the drinking sound. Spent some time in National Park last week again.
Yeah.
Go to the listen to
Joshua Tree you
Yes.
were at, was it? Yes.
And I love our national parks, Garth. Do you love the national parks?
Dude, I am a huge fan. Kelly and I have been to many a national park. I couldn't list them all on both hands. I've been to so many. Probably.
I got the annual parks pass.
Dude, it's so worth it if you
that
go to
hopefully-
like more than one in a year. It's so worth it.
that was the gift from my parents to me and Allison.
Nice.
They've gotten that for us a couple of times.
Yeah, the national parks are amazing.
I mean, hopefully I get to use the pass this year because of the way things are going.
Oh yeah, we'll get into that in Garth's Corner.
Started out going to national parks on our honeymoon, and we got the little passport book that you like. Each national park you go to, you can get a cancellation in your passport.
I totally haven't been doing that. I really should have. I've been to so many.
Yeah, so we started filling one out, and then I had it with all of our camping gear, and it was in an insecure box, and a rat ate it.
Oh no.
So we now have a new passport, and we're gonna have to revisit a bunch of places to like rebuild what we had and add new stuff to it. But we love our national parks, national forests, national monuments, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure this is going to come up in your corner, but just as a quick intro.
Yeah.
Do you know how many national parks there are, Garth?
Oh, I've got a map up in our bedroom of all the ones we've been to, and you can put a little sticker on each one, and it's several dozen. 50? I don't know.
You're actually pretty
40?
close. You were in the ballpark. I mean, the actual answer is 63 national parks.
Wow.
And you know what state has the most?
Probably California or Utah.
California? We have 9.
Do we really have 9 national
Yes,
parks? Wow.
yes.
I don't think I could
California,
name
man.
them all. I mean, obviously Yosemite, Crater Lakes in Oregon.
Lava beds, Pinnacles,
The Pinnacles is a national
Point
park,
Reyes,
isn't it? I thought it was a
Redwood,
state park. Yeah, Redwood
Sequoia,
National Park, Sequoia.
Kings Canyon. This is off the top of my head. Kings Canyon.
Yeah, Kings Canyon
Yosemite,
and Sequoia are 2 separate ones that are right next to
Lassen,
each other. Yeah.
and Joshua Tree.
There you
That's
go.
9.
There you go.
But there's also national monuments as well. There's the National Park Service oversees 63 national parks and 433 units that are often referred to as parks, and those are your national monuments, and then 150 related areas, which are like national historic landmarks,
Like the Alamo and stuff,
Yeah.
I imagine.
It encompasses 85 million acres in all 53. What the hell?
All 53 states.
No.
Not yet, Cody.
It encompasses 85 million acres in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and our U.S. territories. We love our parks. And then you have your national forests, 154 protected areas that are national forest, and that in the United States, and that covers 138,336,179 acres.
All that off the top of your head, amazing.
Square kilometers? It's huge.
It's big. It's a lot. There's a lot of park.
Yeah, or 294,275 square miles. That's how that works. Worth of forests. Now, you think the two are connected by the same agency, but they're not. The National Parks is part of the Department of the Interior, whereas the National Forests are actually a division of it's the U.S. Forest Service, which is part of the USDA.
Really?
Because it falls under agriculture. Because the point of the national forests is it is a reserve. They do collect resources from it, so you do log it. But the idea is that like that is the nation's reserve.
Well, and there are ways to log in a sustainable way.
Yeah. So anyway, we love all this.
Oh yeah.
But what if, Garth? What if our beloved national parks, national forests, and monuments and such were hiding a deep, sinister secret? What if a vast conspiracy existed to cover up something so shockingly terrifying that it would shake public faith in the Department of the Interior to its core and would destroy the Park Service completely if it was known?
Well, then I would want it to never be revealed because I love the Park Service. So let's bury it. Don't talk about this. This is the end of the show. We're done.
Well, I was going to say, part of that conspiracy shit is true. I mean, it's called Doge. But what I'm talking about specifically is the missing 411 conspiracy.
Ooh, I am unfamiliar with this. And I think you knew that because you already asked me.
Yes.
But yes, I've never heard of this 411 thing. That means information, right? What's the 411?
Yes. Let me tell you the 411 on the 411. It's actually a retronym. Yes.
It's not a homonym. It's a...
So, I'm not sure this is the correct term. But
how
in my
many
head
NIMs are there? Last
if anything has a name, it's a NIM.
You gave me a NIM, new NIM.
Yeah, last time was toponym, and I was slightly wrong on that. Toponym just means like place name.
Not necessarily a map name.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's like when an area is... Yeah.
Okay. But what is this NIM?
It's a retronym is when the original... Like, it's either to rename something or it's when the original name takes on a new meaning. Like, they change the... Yeah, it's like somebody's like, well, that's not what it means. It means this. And I will explain that.
Okay.
In time.
Okay,
but first we have to talk about David Paulides. Because David Paulides is... Without him, there is no 411 conspiracy theory.
David Paulides.
Yes. David Paulides is a former... he'll tell you that he is a former police investigator and detective. And that is true.
When you prefaced he'll tell you that, it made me immediately think maybe it wasn't true.
Well, he will lie about certain parts of his career.
Okay.
And try to just ignore others. So, David Paulides is also a local boy. He's San Jose PD.
No kidding.
Yes.
Wow.
He was a detective. He says he was a detective, but he, I think, was actually assigned as part of like their SWAT team.
Oh, that's very different.
But he made his name early in his career in 1983. He was known as the king of the bookstore. Yeah, what happened is, so you have adult bookstores, right?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
In San Jose.
So, Paulides, super spoiler, ACAB, like ACAB.
What's ACAB?
All cops are bastards, Gar.
Oh, how did I not know that one? I know, I hate acronyms, even the ones.
So, he became king of the bookstore because he would go to adult bookstores, you see.
Oh, I see.
And he would spend his day putting money into the arcade, which is back in the day you'd go...
The nudie booth?
Yeah, the nudie booth, right? And wait for men to come in who would then like... He would kind of put out the signal and make eye contact with them and talk them up. And then he would tell them, well, do you have a place where we can go to be alone? We can't go back to my house. And then eventually it's suggested, well, let's go to the car. And then once they're out the car, he then arrests them for solicitation.
That's entrapment. You can't do that.
Well, he made his... in 7 months, he made 100 arrests this way and almost got a job at the FBI from it. Let me
That reminds me of a South Park episode where the cop is doing that, but like he goes all the way until like the end of it, and he's like, freeze, you under arrest, like after they have sex. Anyway, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So this is from the Bay Area Reporter, volume 13, number 17, April 28th, 1983. I'm going to read you a little clip here. There's like a section in the Bay Area Reporter that focuses like on there's a bunch of stuff in here about the gay and queer community, which is pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. And this was in the 80s he was
doing
this.
So next to an article about cops responding to a impromptu drag parade that was going, basically it was people going to their friend's house for a barbecue, and they just kind of marched there, and it caused a big stir, and the cops were called. Next to that is a little piece from a local activist, a guy named David Treadwell, and he is informing the community of good news, everyone. Officer Polides of the San Jose Police Department Street Crimes Unit has left the force to join the FBI.
He's out of our hair.
Yes, here we go.
Good riddance.
According to Treadwell, Officer Polides was often referred to as the king of the bookstore detail due to the number of arrests he made. Polides, more than any other officer in the detail, took a particular delight in his work. He often spent much of his time in the movie arcade section of the adult bookstores. Much of that time he would spend pumping quarters into the movie machines. It's literally the taxpayer's dime.
Yeah, right?
Right? He's getting paid to
wow.
watch porn and waste taxpayer money so that he can entrap gay men. Yeah, and so the article goes on to explain, he's a piece of shit, basically.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not the extent of his ACAB-ness, Garth. It gets worse.
Well, now he's in the FBI. You can only imagine.
Apparently he never actually made it to the FBI.
Okay, he washed out.
Or it just never came to be.
What is your previous experience? Well,
but by 1987, he is now part of San Jose's roving SWAT team, it seems like. They just go out looking for trouble. And on Christmas night in 1987...
The opposite of de-escalation.
Yeah. They see him... a black man sitting in his car outside of an apartment complex.
Oh, you can't have that.
Not on Christmas.
Not
on Christmas.
Call in the SWAT team.
Yeah.
God.
And so they approach him, and they tell him that, we saw you throw a little baggie out of your window, which they later claim they found the baggie, and guess what? It contained an ounce of cocaine.
I can't even believe.
They said that was a street value of $1,200. And so they decide to arrest this individual, and he has no ID, and it turns out they run the plates. It's like a stolen vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then there's an altercation. He supposedly punches Polides so hard in the face that he has to have emergency dental work, and he gets cracked ribs, and then the suspect disappears. Now, they have no ID for this guy. They don't know who he is. All they can say is, well, he was a black guy.
Right.
2 days later, I guess they dust the car and they find some prints in the car, and that leads them to an individual. They go to his house, kick in his door because they're the SWAT team, drag him out.
Oh my God.
And according to him, he hears a voice who would turn out to be Polides say, "That's him." And then they beat the ever-loving shit out of this man.
Because he happened to touch a car that
Yes.
that was associated with this other guy. Wow.
They say that, that's him. They beat him so bad that then there's a huge inquiry into it because they knock him unconscious, cause brain damage.
It's
and
a Rodney King kind of a thing.
Yeah.
No one
But
was
it's
there to witness
1987.
it. Yeah.
Apparently there was a witness, but it was another black guy who was like his roommate. He's like, I saw the whole thing.
Yeah, wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
So of course, because cops ACAB and they all look out for each other. Instead, they just take him off the street. And they assign him a detail as a court liaison for the police department working with the court.
Court liaison.
Yeah. And everything kind of goes well for him until 1996, when somebody notices, hey, Officer Polides is getting a shit ton of mail to himself here at the police department. What the hell's that about? So they do an internal investigation. And guess what? He has been stealing police department stationery, writing letters to celebrities, pretending to represent a police charity to solicit autographed memorabilia that he can then sell for money.
That's amazing. Wow, what a grift.
Let me read you from another news article. This is from the San Jose Mercury News, Saturday, December 21st, 1996. Officer David Polides, 40, aroused suspicions after he was seen using city stationery on the department's computer printers. Polides also sent and received large quantities of unofficial mail at the department. Police reports say none of those activities fell within his duties as a court liaison officer, prompting an internal investigation that began last September. Quote, he's an autograph hound, said Assistant District Attorney Karen Shinunu, who filed the complaint last week in municipal court. Quote, it was a stupid thing to do, to spend your time enhancing your personal collection when taxpayers are paying for you to work.
Well, and reselling them too, right?
I don't know if
maybe he was just...
Yeah, maybe he didn't resell.
He was just using his position to get a bunch of free autographs.
So he would write that he would send them letters, and he would say that like, depending on who it was, he would kind of tailor it and say,
for charity.
yeah, we're going to auction off charity. Or he said that he was trying to start a police hall of fame that would be in the entryway to the police department. And so people could see like autographed things of celebrities.
And until then, I'll just keep them on my walls.
Here we go. Here's a letter. I'm going to read you what the letter says, and then we'll take a wild guess.
We'll guess what celebrity it's addressed to. Okay.
Quote, you are a great role model for young women. I've been given the task by the city to develop a display for our lobby of successful businesswomen. We are respectfully requesting an autographed photo for our display. Your success on a professional as well as personal level make you a superior businesswoman and mother.
Businesswoman, late 90s?
This would be, in the mid-90s.
And these are
90s.
celebrities.
Early mid-90s.
This is a celebrity, but also a businesswoman.
A businesswoman and mother. Successful businesswoman.
I'm kind of drawing a blank because I was thinking he would go for like actresses, but if this is a businesswoman, well, some actresses are.
You ready for it?
Sure.
Ivana fucking Trump.
Really?
Yes.
Whoa.
As it turns out, this is not going to be the only time he gets connected to Trump. Spoilers.
He sounds like he has a lot in common with Trump from
but he also got
so far.
But he also got a signed CD from Lionel Richie.
Wow.
He got an autograph of exercise guru Jack LaLanne.
Oh, nice.
He got astronaut Mae Jemison and newswoman Diane Sawyer.
Wow, Diane Sawyer.
But after this comes out, they arrest him. He's arrested. He's tried. He's convicted.
Wow.
But he's given the option of...
He finally got caught, and it was for this. All right.
And his punishment was that, well, you're fired as a cop, and you have to pay a fine. And instead, he didn't have to serve any time.
Did he have to give back all his autographs, I wonder?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Good question. So that's in 1996. Then he kind of goes quiet for a while.
What's his next thing going to be? I can only imagine. Where does he go from here, Cody?
Bigfoot.
Ah, of course. That's a natural,
Yes.
one to the next. That's got to be what comes next.
We go to Bigfoot. So, in the early 2000s, he writes 2 different books about Bigfoot. He starts investigating because remember, he was a detective, so he investigates.
Oh, right. Yeah, he's got that background, so he can be like, hey,
I think he says that what got his interest was that he was... I've watched a bunch of documentaries and interviews with him, and so there's stuff floating around my head. And so what I'm remembering is that, like, he said in his course of investigating other things and going through historical newspapers, he was finding a lot of, like, articles about sightings of Bigfoot. And so he starts to collect these. And eventually, before he knows it, he has such a huge collection of them that then he writes 2 books about it. In around 2011 to 12, he gets involved with this lady, Dr. Melba Ketchum.
Melba Ketchum.
Yes.
Okay.
Not to be confused of Pokemon Ketchum, Ash Ketchum.
Gotta catch 'em all.
Yeah. Unless they're Bigfoot, in which case.
Please. Yes.
So these 2 team up. She's a doctor of veterinary medicine. So let's get that out. She does have some credibility, at least as far as animals are concerned.
Sure. Yeah.
She starts a couple businesses that do DNA analysis.
Oh, okay.
One of those.
This is early DNA analysis.
This is like 2010s.
Oh,
early
okay.
2010s.
So got it.
So now that's like 15, 16 years.
It
ago
is, but that was we're not talking like
God,
turn of the
time flies.
century. I know, right?
So she starts these companies. There's like 2 separate companies that are doing this that she's running. Maybe not at the same time, but one of them gets sued and shut down for basically using like other companies' intellectual property. Like it's their copyright methods to analyze DNA. It's like a licensed thing to this is ours. Proprietary.
So the method can be
yes. And so she's using like equipment and techniques that is like their proprietary stuff without like licensing.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so that gets like shut down. And then the second one, she gets charged with professional misconduct in a court because she starts appearing as a court witness and is like giving bad DNA analysis.
Oh, no.
In one case involving like canine DNA. And so they're like, based on your false, like basically it was implied that it was kind of implied that she knew what she was presenting was false.
Is she doing this for personal gain? I don't understand.
She's running a company, so she's got to,
yeah,
it's business.
okay, yeah.
Anyway, in amongst all of this, she gets involved with Paulides and the Bigfoot thing because her DNA company is approached by I think it's a History Channel show called like Expedition Unknown. And they're like, we found hair that might be Bigfoot. And so that's like given to her.
And we're going to have her be the scientist.
Yes.
Okay.
So she's tied into the whole like History Channel sphere as well now.
Uh-huh.
And that's just giving you an idea of like our crazy wall, the strings that are connecting now.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Is we're building this conspiracy wall. And I haven't even gotten to like the conspiracy, the grand conspiracy. So her and Paulides, they gather supposed Bigfoot hair from various sources in a very unscientific manner. It's like there's no actual like controls being done here. This is not samples collected in a scientific manner. It's like somebody out hiking who's like, oh, I just found it and I grabbed it and put it in my pocket.
It's almost gotta be, I always want to think benefit of the doubt, and like if every once in a while you find hair in the woods, maybe it's Bigfoot hair. Like, how much more scientific could you get than just random occurrences?
It's more of just about how it's handled for contaminations. There's protocols that are followed.
Sure,
for this thing.
yeah,
you don't want DNA analysis. You've got to follow protocol.
That makes sense.
And there's like missing segments of the chain of custody is what it would be called.
Oh, well, yeah, that would be.
See, I'm going to show more investigative integrity than Paulides here.
I should hope so.
Long story short, they get a bunch of DNA results. They write a paper.
Mm-hmm.
They co-author a paper. And they submit it for peer review. And journal after journal throws it away. It was like, this is junk science. Your methods are flawed. There's a whole bunch of problems.
I wonder what the paper title was. Like, did they stay conservative where they didn't actually call it Bigfoot, but they're like, unusual hominid in the woods?
I have the name here.
Yeah, let's see what they called it.
The study was titled Novel North American Hominins, Next Generation Sequencing of 3 Whole Genomes and Associated Studies.
Okay, that sounds good.
And it was published in the inaugural issue of De Novo Journal of Science.
Oh, so they did get it published eventually.
De Novo Journal of Science is a journal that Melba Ketchum and David Paulides started together. It only ever published one issue, and its issue was just this study.
I love it. That's how you get published in a scientific journal. Make your own.
In the study, they claimed that there was evidence that, like, Bigfoot was a hybridization of a human and some other primate a human, I think she said like human ancestors, like 15,000 years ago.
Okay.
Here's the thing, is like 15,000 years ago, modern humans were modern humans.
Maybe they're suggesting that this is a hybrid between a human, like a Homo sapiens sapiens, and a Neanderthal or some other kind of subspecies of human. Maybe
it's like
I'm giving you too much credit. I'm sure.
No, I think they're implying like when they say primate, they're meaning like some kind of like ape, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and that's just fucking.
That's
bullshit.
Not really very good biology. You can't really cross species.
It's not how any of that works. And then they try to like frame it as, well, maybe Bigfoot is actually they're Native Americans. Is like a lost Native American tribe that is this like ape human hybrid.
I'm so confused.
Which seems really fucking racist.
Yeah, that has a weird, but even. Yeah, I can't make heads or tails of that one.
Either way, even people who are into Bigfoot,
come on,
dislike her and have said that her study or her supposed study did more harm.
They're thinking it's discrediting the movement.
Yeah, it did more harm to the Bigfoot movement. They said than 100 skeptics could have. So, anyway, just to give you like here, this is the person that David Paulides is.
Okay,
this is his.
I think I got a pretty good idea of this guy.
Because like if we are doing a character study, if you were like in a court of law, and you're like, we need to examine the character of this.
Do we have
person.
anyone that can testify to the quality of this person's character?
So now you've seen his career.
Yes.
He says that after the Bigfoot stuff, or around that time, he was visiting a national park. Here we go. We're finally getting to the thing. He's visiting a national park, and an anonymous ranger comes up to him and recognizes him as the Bigfoot guy. And he doesn't say Bigfoot. He says, he knew that I was a researcher. And comes up and says, hey, psst, dude, guess what? Thousands of people go missing in the national parks every year. Mysteriously vanish in the national parks. And not only is it not being like investigated, it might be being covered up. He says that like for the first 7 to 10 days, it's like all media coverage and a flurry of activity and search parties. And then after 10 days, they just stop. What's up with that?
Oh, I see what it is. Okay,
There's something here, right?
Okay.
And so David Paulides, as he tells it, is like, my
instinct.
My instinct, my
guts.
detective instinct, my researcher
My
nature.
detective instinct
told me,
throbbed and
yeah,
flared.
I'm going to look into this.
Something is afoot.
And as he looks into it, he starts to find, through the historical record, thousands of cases of people who have gone missing in either national parks, national forests.
This is the kind of guy who, if he looks hard enough, can find something, even if he has to talk it into happening.
Yeah. So he picks 411 of these cases that he has investigated and researched and puts those into a 2-volume book.
Mm-hmm.
The name Missing 411
originally 411 people.
411 people
Okay.
that he talked about. That is the original meaning of the name. Afterwards, somebody points out to him, hey, isn't it kind of funny that like 411 in America is the number you call on your phone for information, and that 411 is like slang shorthand for information.
Yeah.
So it's like missing information, because also the information about what happened to them is also missing. Isn't that like crazy, dude? And he's like, yes, that's always what I meant. Even though there's like a quote of him explaining.
I already assumed that's what he meant. I thought he was doing a double.
I mean, it's a good.
It is, because 411 has been around before 2010 or whatever. So this has got to have been. Yeah, that's funny. Of course, that's what I meant.
So the book is in 2 parts. One covers the western half of the United States, and the other is the eastern half. And this comes out in 2012. And some of the things that like he starts to infer that something's going on, but he never actually says what he thinks is responsible.
That sounds like a very frustrating book to read then.
Or it's the design. It's like, how do you keep the grift going?
Oh, I see. So by implying but not stating, you're kind of pulling people along, indicating that you eventually will say something later. Okay.
So he covers all these cases of people who disappear, and he comes up with a list of criteria that help him weed out, because he tries to say that he has integrity, that if a case seems like it's a case of murder or animal attack or somebody being who's intentionally trying to take themselves out of the picture, he's like, and there's mental illness, I won't even look at it. But these are the criteria, the things that all these cases share in some combination. That's the key here. He comes up with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 11 criteria. And he's like, if at least 6 of these match, then it's a 411 case.
Oh, he's decided that's the threshold.
Yes,
okay,
it's like, here they are.
Well, since he invented this whole thing, sure.
1, and this is from. Eventually, this is made into a documentary. I
called
watched.
the
There's
411?
3. There's 3 of them. I've watched 2 of the 3 in the last 48 hours.
After the second one, you're like, yep, I think I got it.
Well, the third one is under an extreme paywall. We'll get to that.
Oh God, no! Please don't pay for that.
Okay, so 1, a point of separation. Now, what he means here is that usually the individual who goes missing is not alone. They initially they're not alone. They're with other people, and then they step out of sight, or for some reason they go around a corner in the trail, they disappear, nobody can ever find them. So there's a distinct point, which was like the last, in Search and Rescue, they call it last point seen.
Okay.
And here it's like, it's the last, it's the point of separation. Well,
isn't that
David,
all?
that's how the nature of being lost works. Is
Yeah.
everything has a place you last
That
saw
sounds
it.
like the least narrow of a criteria you could come up with.
That's how losing things works.
Yeah.
It's always, I remember seeing it here. The last place I saw was here, but now it's not
if
there.
no one
Yes.
remembers seeing the person, how would they know they even got lost in the
Exactly.
national park?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
Okay. So that's 1. 2, time of disappearance. Some of these disappearances happen in the same time frame. Now he's like, oh, so they all disappeared in the evening? No. So they all disappeared in the morning? No.
Yeah, what time
But like,
frame?
like 5 or 6 of them happened at the same, like, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So that must be surely a sign they're connected.
Wait. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Let's keep just going.
Yes,
Let's just
right.
keep going.
You already see
I was,
the lack of-
I was about to start to get into this, but
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
3, the presence of boulder fields nearby.
Oh, now that's interesting. Are there a lot of boulder fields? So,
Yeah.
so all of his 411 people went missing around boulder fields.
No, see, the thing is that you can have combinations.
Oh, right. You only need 6 out of 11.
Yes,
Oh, right.
yes. That's why the time of disappearance doesn't matter.
Got it.
Because it could be like, oh, well, these two, 50 years apart, they disappeared around afternoon. So surely.
Yeah, because
right?
it's some amount of time.
If it's not near a boulder field, it's also by a body of water. Some
Okay.
kind of a river, a pond, a lake.
Is
Places
there
that humans go.
Is there one that's like happened in the trees?
Well, usually in the forest, right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
know.
Then here's the interesting thing, Garth. After the person goes missing, usually within like 24 hours, there's some kind of severe weather event, be it rain or wind or snow or like extreme heat that hinders the search efforts.
So if the search efforts encounter any weather,
Yes.
any adverse weather, then that would qualify.
Yes.
All right.
Almost like there was some kind of force at play to control the weather, to keep people from finding out.
This is a Thor kind of a Bigfoot that can control the weather.
Oh, we haven't got to the Bigfoot yet.
Okay.
That's-
Okay. I'm imagining that this is all Bigfoot related, but maybe we'll see where we're going.
The person, he calls them victims for the record,
Okay.
because he's
Well-
convinced that something has happened to them. They are a victim of something. So, victims. They all have a disability or illness.
Interesting.
But
Okay.
not all of them. But, some
Well,
of them.
right, but only
Yeah.
6 out of
Yeah, yeah,
11
yeah, yeah.
points. Yeah.
When they bring in dogs, the dogs can't find them. The canine units can't track them.
Okay. Keep going.
Later, if a body is found, it's found in an area, because sometimes they are found, but not alive.
Oh, and that would still count.
So if the body
Okay.
remains are found, it's sometimes in a place that was already previously searched.
Huh. Boy, these are very vague. Okay.
The victim, when found, is missing items of clothing.
Mm-hmm.
The cause of death is unknown. And there seems to be geographical clustering of cases where they all happen in
Oh, this is
relative areas.
similar to the time one, but it's space related. Yeah. Okay, so you only need 6 out of 11 of those to qualify and be one of. Was it 111 people total, or that was just the
411 cases.
400.
Yeah, that he covered in the first 2-part
Got
book.
it. Okay.
Now, when he translates this into film, because this he
Oh.
sells the books. In
They
fact,
make
he
a
writes-
movie?
He writes a new Missing 411 book every year for 8 consecutive years, and
Oh
sells
my
them.
gosh! How
At
many?
like $29 a pop.
4 times. How many? 8 years? So that's 32 plus
No,
11.
he writes one a year for 8 years.
Yeah, but is it 411 new people each time?
No,
Oh,
he
I
just
was
keeps them
I was gonna tally up the total there.
No,
Okay.
no. Because at this point, it just becomes, it's the retronym kicks in, and now it's the missing information.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So in 2016, he starts working on, or 2015 into 2016, starts working and translated into a documentary where he picks a handful of cases from the first 2 books that he wants to highlight, and he specifically chooses cases involving children
Well,
because
yeah.
that's
It's gonna
emotional
sell.
manipulation.
Yes.
And while he's filming the documentary, a little boy in Idaho goes missing. And he says, well, this meets several of the criteria. And so like a fucking parasite,
Oh,
he locks in
that's
there
so
and is
fucking
like
awful.
documenting it as it's happening.
Oh, that's horrible.
And watching it,
yeah.
there's 2 ways this story could go. And they're both very likely, but neither one of them is a missing. The child didn't just vanish. The kid's dead and
Yeah.
was either murdered. Some people think by the parents. And they kind of like make the case in the documentary. They kind of do like try to be objective about it. And then they interview the parents. And it is a very good case of like, look, no one can tell anybody how to grieve. So if somebody looks at them and like, they're not behaving the way I'd expect them to be.
that's bullshit. Yeah.
And I guess they like were suspicious because they refused to go on Nancy Grace on Fox News.
that is not suspicious in my book.
And that's what the dad even says. He's like, no, we're not going to go on the show.
We're not gonna do publicity tours
Yes.
because of our
Yeah.
kid. That sounds
But there
very
is
natural.
some other evidence that suggests that they could be involved, and then it involves
Regardless,
a
the
grandfather.
fact that he decided to get in on this while it's happening is horrible.
The case is basically a family goes camping in a remote, like single campground outside of a little town near Idaho Falls, and there's the parents, a 2-year-old boy, the great grandpa who is like in the early stages of dementia and on oxygen, and then like this really weird suspicious guy who's like a friend of grandpa's who's like in his 30s, who apparently has a past like criminal record of assault.
Interesting combination of people. Okay.
And long story short, little boy, like the parents turn away for a second. They think he's with grandpa. Grandpa doesn't find him. And then they can't find him. So the question is like, did an animal take off with him? What happened? That was like in 2015. To this day, no one knows what happened to the little boy. But the documentary like starts framing around that as it presents other cases of kids who went missing.
Oh, geez.
And in
What
each
a
of the
mess.
cases, to somebody who is logical and looking at the facts and not assuming that there's some kind of grand conspiracy of people being snatched, or because that's the thing we're going to get into. Like, it is, what does he think is happening to these people?
We haven't even
Yeah.
addressed what his thesis is here, although he obviously is keeping it close to the belt.
Yeah.
Close to the vest, not the belt.
But
That's not the phrase.
each of the cases, like there's one that is definitely, from my eyes, a child was totally like abducted, sexually assaulted, and murdered.
Yeesh, yeah.
There's just certain things like about the case and the evidence. You're like, yeah, that's probably what happened there. There's another one that is like very blatantly, kid. Actually, there's 2 cases. Oh God, 2 of the cases he talks about are kids who were probably abducted, molested, and murdered. But no, they just disappeared. That's a much better. I mean, it's awful.
So is he skipping certain information to try to keep it mysterious?
It is. It's the way it's being presented is very leading.
Gotcha.
And he does have a reputation for cherry picking details of cases.
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
And in some of the cases, spoilers, they found that these people were found again later, and in some of them it was very obviously a suicide, but he never goes back and corrects the record on that. Or some he just says they were never found when they actually were.
So he's been doing this, he's writing books, he's doing documentaries for a while, but he still isn't saying exactly what he thinks is happening to these people.
Yes and no, and we're going to get into that. But
Okay.
first, we need to go look for some missing bones.
Oh my gosh, then we'll find out what this is all about. Maybe what he thinks it is. All right, missing bones.
What was that laugh? I asked myself. I'm trying to recreate that as much as possible. I don't think I've ever laughed like that in my life. That was new. What is that? This is my new laugh for 2024. New year, new laugh.
We have a spanking new podcast for your ear holes called Doom Generation.
Available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Later, Doomers.
Do you like beer?
Of course you do.
Do you like good food?
You better believe it.
Then we have the show for you.
It's the Hoppy Trails Podcast.
I'm Nick.
I'm Travis, and on each episode of Hoppy Trails, we invite you to come along on our journey to explore craft beverages and the foods that accompany them.
Check out Hoppy Trails on hoppytrailspod.com or listen wherever you find your podcasts. Connect with us on Instagram at hoppytrailspod or reach out to hoppytrailspod@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
Come travel the Hoppy Trails with us, and remember to always say yes to the hoppy ending.
Cheers.
Well, those sure weren't some. Those sure were some bones, were they
found
not?
some.
We found them?
Like a pelvis found on a trail years later and 12 miles from where they were supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they'd been where they were supposed to be, they would have been found.
The deal is, okay, so Missing 411, the first documentary,
Yeah.
all about kids.
Right.
Second one is called Missing 411, The Hunted. And it's all about
Oh.
hunters who go missing
Oh, okay.
while
All right.
hunting.
Right on.
Yeah. And and some of the cases like on their like if you as far as missing person
I just thought of
go,
another Whitest Kids You Know reference.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Do tell, so I can add it in.
It's the one where the hunter like accidentally shoots another hunter, and they're like,
"Let's take a minute to think this thing through."
What's there to think about?
Oh, I don't know. A man is shot. We have guns. You want to go get other people?
Yeah, we gotta notify the authorities.
See, those are the exact people that I wouldn't really want to be here, Bob. That's why we need to think this out.
Good point. Okay, so that brings up, yeah.
Yeah.
So the first case he covers in that very clearly is a case of a group of hunters accidentally shooting their buddy and covering it up.
Uh-huh. I'm sure that happens sometimes.
The victim was 86 years old.
Oh, wow.
Partially deaf, missing an eye, and they're hunting.
He looked like a deer from far away.
They were hunting
weirdly.
an area they'd never hunted before. Everybody spread out, and then one of the guys who was there was like, "I heard a weird noise. There was a weird noise." And David Paulides is like, "Well, what did it sound like?" And the guy's like, "Oh, it was like nothing I'd heard before in the woods." Go on. And I was really getting vibes of that SNL skit with Bill Hader. Oh, yeah, you gotta. And the guy said it was like a loud cracking noise. You mean like a gunshot? Like somebody in your party fucking shooting Bill?
I've never heard that in the woods before.
Yeah, so they totally shot their buddy. But no, they'll say it's the missing. He's never been found. No sign of him. And so stuff like that. That's the hunted.
Okay.
And that's where he starts like kind of. So in the first documentary, he's never on camera.
Oh, okay.
Himself.
Okay.
He's off camera. Or his son. His son is actually part of his filmmaking crew. He has a son. And so, like, in some, it's his son doing interviews of people, and then he's doing the interviews, like, off camera. And then, in the second one, it's all David on camera, and he's
becoming more the star of the show.
Yes, like the narrator and the star of it. He's kind of, like, building this whole thing about the National Park Service in particular.
Does he have good stage presence? Is he entertaining?
Allison described his appearance like this. So this is how Allison and I both collectively described him. Because we were watching an interview that he did for the this thing called Gaia TV, which is a whole thing. It's a new age fucking
sounds like
conspiracy wacko
like
media empire.
We'll have to do an episode on it.
But he was on one of their shows talking about this, and the way he looked, I was like, he looks like a dollar store Josh Brolin that's been left out in the sun. And Allison added, he was left out in the sun to get Swayze because he kind of looks like Patrick Swayze too. And so he's a dollar store Josh Brolin left out in the sun to get Swayze.
Is he compelling? Is he captivating? Is he a good showman?
He's got squinty eyes.
Oh yeah.
His hair looks hard, like a helmet.
Yeah, you got to have both of those qualities if you're hosting a mystery show.
He's wearing his like own kind of like branded shirt that says Missing 411 on it. But I can't really criticize him on that because we filmed the show where I was wearing his shirt with our own logo.
About that.
Yeah, I got nothing to comment on that. But
okay,
he puts out this claim in the first one that the National Park Service does not keep a list. That was people who are missing in the parks.
Yeah, that was the whole beginning of this. Is some ranger told him, "Hey, people go missing all the time, and it's covered up. No one ever hears about it, but it's thousands a year." Yeah. Okay.
And so he claims that there is no list in the National Park Service of people who go missing in the national parks.
Something tells me there probably is,
which sounds insane.
Yeah,
like if there isn't, that's crazy. And it turns out that's partially true. Is that there are other databases that those missing people
it would be
get
redundant for them to have one.
Yeah, so they're like there's a shared database of law enforcement that is a missing persons database.
Yeah,
and so if a person is declared missing,
that would have that covered. So why have another one?
Yeah, okay. Although there is this weird thing that national parks, because they are like this little federal island to themselves.
That's right. Yeah.
So you could have, for example, a national park that is completely surrounded by a single county. But the county sheriff has no jurisdiction inside the national park. There's a story about like in Wyoming, there's somewhere in Yellowstone that's like legal to kill someone because it's nobody's jurisdiction.
Oh, that's
It's
funny.
Like a weird morally gray area.
Yeah. Well, and there's plenty of national parks. They always say in the front, like, you cannot bring weed into the park even though it's legal in the state.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're technically on federal land.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of jurisdictional things that happen there. Also, that he lists cases that took place in national forests. It's like, well, national forest isn't even the same department of the government. It's part of agriculture, right?
Right.
So there are these other shared interdepartmental databases that kind of cover that.
Mm-hmm.
Although I do think that it wouldn't hurt.
I agree. Yeah.
But he tries to. So part of the claim is that why are they covering it up?
Right.
And we haven't gotten to like what is happening.
No, we haven't.
Yeah,
it's been a long. I'm really
but
curious.
why are they covering this up? And he claims it's that if people knew how dangerous it was in the parks, that you could just disappear in the park, that people wouldn't go there. And it would like harm revenue. And to that I counter,
I don't know,
dude,
man.
I have been to a lot of national parks, and let me tell you, they sell books in the gift shops at all the national parks that are called Death in the Park. That is just page after page of people. I've one from Yellowstone. There's a whole chapter of people being boiled alive in geysers.
Yeah.
Like, they want you to know it's dangerous in the park.
Yeah, well, it's a feature, not a bug. People are going to want to... That's interesting. It's
yes,
like, ooh,
right?
let's go to that dangerous place.
So,
Yeah, you're not going to miss tourists.
So, yeah, they're not trying to, like, keep people knowing that it's dangerous in the park. That is not this conspiracy. But, yeah, the people, they disappear. And but sometimes their bodies are found. Sometimes they are never found. What is happening to them? And so that's where we get into like, he's very hesitant to say, but then he kind of does in the way that like the meme that, you know, it's not ancient, like it's not aliens, it's aliens, you know, kind of way where like he had been asked in the past point blank, is it Bigfoot? And he's like, no. But then later it kind of is like, yeah, he's implying that it could be Bigfoot, because in the second documentary, in The Hunted, the last half of it is about people seeing Bigfoot creatures. He spends
then why would he include that if they weren't related?
He says, although this next two things I'm going to talk about aren't really part of the
nothing to do.
Yeah, I'm going to bring them up because there's actual evidence and that I can present.
I'm totally changing the topic of this documentary
exactly.
now.
and so the first thing he covers is this place called the Sierra Camp. It's in eastern Tuolumne County, on the eastern side of the Sierras. This is a famous case.
Tuolumne Meadows.
It's on the other side. It's in the county, but it's on the eastern slopes.
Ah, okay.
So heading towards Mono Lake. Turns out there's supposedly a specific Bigfoot community in Mono Lake area in that part of Tuolumne County.
Wow.
And that
a community of big feet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big feet. Big persons.
Yes.
Big-footed individuals.
Bigfoots.
And there's a hunting...
Big-footed individuals. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Keep going.
There's a hunting camp that's out in these woods, and these guys have been going there since the 1950s for like a boys' week every week. Or once a year, the summer they go out.
Boys' week every week.
Well, the 1950s, every day.
Every
week
day
was
is boys' week.
Yeah.
And every week is boys' day. All right.
Point is, you have to take mules to get out into this place.
Uh-huh.
And in the 70s, they were out there, they start hearing noises. And so, like, these weird hoops and hollers and jibber jabbering, like, in the dark, like, blah, 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 in the dark. And they, you like that? Like my jibber jabber?
Yeah, it's great.
Allison loves that. It's my demon thing.
It's great. I can just imagine hearing that with a little echo on it off in the distance, and it's dark out. Yeah.
And it's like, whoop, whoop, whoop noises that are happening. And so they go back with recorders and they record the noise. And then in the 1970s, this is 1970s, like reel-to-reel tape recorder.
Oh, yeah.
They have it analyzed in the 70s by somebody who concludes no human could make these noises. In fact,
yeah.
I think these came from, no human made them. But I could tell you that from the pitch of the noises, that the individual who did was at least 8 feet tall.
Wow,
Yeah,
that is some deduction. That is some Sherlock Holmesian
bullshit
deduction. That's right there.
And so the idea is that, there's these giant big feats that are out in this place. And so he goes to the camp with the guys. And then as they're there, they're also telling him, like, you know, that one time I was here with my wife and we saw like a frozen beam of light. It looked like one of them Star Wars swords, and it was flying through the trees about 4 feet off the ground.
Whoa! A frozen beam of lightsaber
flying around.
Around.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the documentary, he has to let you know, like a postscript, that in like 2018, there were massive forest fires in Tuolumne County. Miraculously, the Sierra Camp Grove was spared. Like, what are you implying? That like this magic Bigfoot like somehow protected this thing from burning?
These Wookiees with lightsabers
Yeah.
actually didn't cause this forest fire. It was everywhere else.
And then the last story in that one is a woman who in a blind sees the predator, like straight up just the predator from the movie The Predator.
Isn't that invisible?
Well, it's that effect, that invisible thing. She says she's in a deer blind.
Oh,
and
I see.
That she says first she thought she had like a bug flew into her eye, like a gnat. And
Which
then
is probably what happened.
And then when she like rubbed her eye afterwards, then she saw this thing that like a sheet of saran wrap in the trees that was all, and then it
optical fluctuation.
And then it reached across from one tree to the next about 13 feet away, and then it like all ripped to that next tree, and then like disappeared.
I see that every time I rub my eyes. That's just what
also,
happens.
she just like crushed a bug in her eye.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
if you, yeah.
And, but then apparently like nearby, on the other side of the property she's hunting in is like the local high school, and they have their marching band practice going on, and apparently the marching band saw a UFO at the exact same time.
Oh.
So now we have aliens.
They've got to be related.
So it's either Bigfoot or aliens.
Bigfoot aliens. Yep.
The third documentary I couldn't see because it's behind extreme paywall, and that's called Missing 411, the UFO Connection. So there we go. We get to aliens.
Damn.
Along the way, he starts a new organization called the Can-Am Project, Canada and America, because then it extends the Missing 411 beyond the national parks, but into
There's probably
all
quite
of
a
North
bit
America.
in the Great White North, yeah.
And then he also claims that he has documented cases that match all these criteria in 9 different countries. In one interview, they start talking about maybe it's portals, maybe it's weaponized portals that people are targeting these individuals for some reason.
Yeah.
He makes an outrageous
Why
claim
not?
that like when these people are found, the bodies have like the date rape drug inside of them.
Oh.
So he's like well, you know,
Spanish
actually, sir,
fly?
GHP.
GHP.
It's like, okay, well, sir, I hate to break it to you, but could these actually be murder cases?
Yeah,
where
that doesn't sound that.
Yes.
I mean, it sounds like evidence of something other than Bigfoot and aliens. But
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So over time, the claims have grown more extreme without ever concretely him like saying it's this.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do that, does he?
No, because that keeps the story going.
He wants
because
to keep there's a little bit he's refusing to say. You can't lay it all out.
If you go to his website, missing411.com, so you can join. Basically, it's a store. Like, here's where you can buy books, you can buy documentaries, you can buy. This is the really fucking sick thing.
Really?
You can buy cluster maps. And what these are maps of states that have marked out the clusters of people who have gone missing in your state.
Wow, that's so
pretty.
Yeah,
because these are like
these are people.
These are people.
These are people that went missing. Yeah,
went missing, families, and instead these are. He's like, he is a parasite that is feeding off of human misery.
Yeah.
To make money.
Yeah.
You go to a site and you can become an insider, a 411 insider. So let me tell you about 411 insiders. You get exclusive access to our search for answers. See, he says he wants to get answers and solve this mystery, but you have to pay to go along on the ride.
Okay, I see.
It's almost like culty without the religion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but the idea is if you pay, you're going to get to go further into the mystery.
Yeah, and so there are special, on the website, there's special archives where you get like unreleased. I mean, I know I'm talking shit because this is basically just Patreon. I realize that. I realize it's just a Patreon.
Of course it is, but I mean, what is it? Like you get to get like police reports and photos of dead people? Like, ew. Yeah, the whole thing's very morbid.
For $10 a month, you become a trail watcher.
Jesus.
You get 2 exclusive live streams with David and moderated Q&A sessions.
Wow.
And $25 of website credit annually. So every year,
I see.
If you
you
pay
can go to the shop.
You get, yeah, right.
You get swag. Do they have a Discord?
For $25, you get 411 Pathfinder. You get everything that was in the previous
from
one.
the previous tier, right?
You get a limited edition 411 gift T-shirt or hat annually.
Oh,
actually, we should
nice.
take a lesson for that. We really should be doing that. Like, we should have new merch every. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we gotta mix it up.
I mean, the guy's got he's got a pretty solid.
We could learn something.
We could. but not for evil.
Yeah.
And you get a free signed inscription on anything you buy on the website. He'll like sign it.
Oh, wow.
$75 a month, Garth.
Oh, Jesus.
You get all that.
Oh, yeah.
You get $100 worth of website credit
And a
annually.
home-cooked meal by this guy.
Actually, you do get to have dinner with him.
No way.
Yes.
Wow.
You get a free signed copy of all new books and DVDs on their release. And then you get Dinner with Dave, a private dinner for 411 insiders, a maximum of 8 people scheduled around speaking engagements. If that's not enough contact for you with David, you can go on the Bigfoot cruise with David. There's a cruise
for the aquatic big feet.
Well, it's like a cruise that like
along the
him
shore.
And there's other people who were like, you know, conspiracy people who were there were talkers who were going on this like cruise and
meet
like
the victims of family. The families of victims. God.
Tickets started around like $1,500 and go all the way up to like $9,000, depending on what package you want. So yeah, it's very much a financial thing going on.
Oh my
here.
gosh, that's crazy.
In 2021, his son commits suicide. Ended their life. I guess he had bipolar disorder and certain things. And yeah, that's a lot of sympathy there.
Sure, yeah, well, of course.
Because you don't wish that on anybody. And it seemed like for a moment that kind of gave David some pause. He realized, oh, this is what I'm doing to like everybody. Like there are cases that are very obviously people.
Yeah,
who
now
went
that
out,
a tragedy has struck close to home, does he have fresh eyes on things?
No, he kind of goes in deeper. He comes back, and it's time for, you know, this is in COVID times.
Right.
He goes completely right-wing MAGA.
I mean, I could see that happening. Yeah.
Because the national parks are our enemies now. You know, they are the
that's already
conspiracy.
baked in. Yeah,
it's already baked in that the national parks. So go Doge, destroy the national parks system.
Let's dismantle the whole thing.
Yes, because they're like the conspiracy, and we still don't even know what the whole fucking point of the conspiracy is.
That's the thing. He has not. I can understand why he hasn't been explicit about it. That's part of what he's selling is the mystery. But wow, okay, so he's full MAGA now.
Yeah, and so and yeah, he puts out like videos on his YouTube. It's not the Missing 411 YouTube. It's now the Can-Am Project.
Mm-hmm.
And usually featuring his very cute dog. And then he goes into some kind of tirade about, you know, border issues and right-wing shit.
You've
and
just found a way to fold all the other grievances into this one.
before like then
Sure.
like rolling into like the latest missing persons case that he can bend to meet the criteria.
Wow.
I do want to real quickly, I'm going to finish up here because now I think I've painted a picture of what it is. Who he is.
I've never heard of any of this. That's amazing.
And I spent a lot of time on the official, well, it's not their official, but there is a missing 411 411 subreddit. And I gotta say, it actually gave me a lot of hope because the subreddit is just people shitting on David Paulides.
Wow.
It's like people who like, I used to be into this and then he said this thing and it like turned me off and I realized he's a scam artist.
So there is a subculture of former fans.
Yes. Oh, if you're a fan, you're in the village. You're a villager.
Oh, okay. That's what they
and
call
there
themselves.
is, before I forget, so Art Bell, Coast to Coast, who we talked about in our Time Travelers, had Paul, I always want to call him Paul for some reason. It's David Paulides.
Paul Davidides.
Paul Atreides. He calls Paul Atreides and he's like, yo, what's up with the fucking spice? He's like, dude, these worms, I don't know where they're going. I can't say what they're doing, but they're out in the desert.
It's a mystery.
No, David Paulides is on Coast to Coast AM a couple of times, and him and Art Bell seem to have a falling out at some point.
Mm-hmm.
This is before Art Bell passed away,
right?
Of course,
Naturally.
unless it's his ghost. But they kind of have this like falling out because for all the crazy that Art Bell was into, he didn't really have tolerance for people who were if he caught you in a lie, he's like, wait, you're fucking lying to me,
right?
And he would like, no, you know, that's it, my bullshit, you can't come back from that. And he like seemingly caught him in some kind of lie. There's some animosity.
I can't imagine,
right?
Yeah. Mysteriously,
right after this happens, Art Bell lives way out in the middle of nowhere, Nevada. It's a place called Pahrump, Nevada. It's fucking go to the middle of nowhere and then keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah, and this is it. And beyond nowhere. And someone drove by and shot up Art Bell's house.
Jeez. Oof.
Now, could it have been a villager? I don't know.
Who's
I'm not
to
going to say that,
Who's
right?
to say?
Yeah. Okay, so it seems the whole 411 conspiracy is just a case of the logical fallacy, cum hoc ergo propter hoc.
Of course, yes.
Basically, the Latin translation, with this, therefore, because of this. Actually, correlation does not imply causation.
Sort of a circular logic.
It's the idea that just because there's something similar between two things does not mean that they're related.
Mm-hmm.
The actual Wikipedia page for it gives an example of somebody saying, like, dinosaurs didn't read and now they're extinct. Ergo, illiteracy leads to extinction. It's kind of like that, right?
That's a good one.
So with the missing 411, some of these things are like boulder fields. And he says granite, specifically granite.
There's lots of random, very vague.
Granite happens to be
criteria.
Like the most common type of rock that makes up the Earth's crust.
And any missing person is going to fall into several of the categories he illustrates. Yeah.
All these criteria exist in the national parks because the national parks are wild fucking places that were chosen.
Set aside for all of
those reasons.
Because there's so many boulder fields that you want to protect. Right? And bodies of water and all the other things.
So there was a presentation done at, we got to go check these people out, Garth. The Monterey Skeptic Society.
Oh,
they have a monthly meeting at a pizza place in Pacific Grove. I think we should meet up with Travis and we should go.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That'd be real fun. Yeah. But every year they have there's a series of meetings that are called Skepticamp. And they get together and it's just like, it'd be people like us. It's like local people who have prepared presentations on skeptical things and you give like your presentation.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
It sounds like a lot of fun. I would love to do it.
Oh, and it's right down the road. Pacific Grove.
Okay, so in 2017, there was like a keynote speech given by Kyle Polich, and then he published it in the Skeptical Inquirer. So this is he examined the missing 411 case, and his background is that he is like a statistician.
Perfect. That's exactly who I want to be looking at this.
Yeah, and that's what caught his attention. He's like, this is really interesting because, like, there's got to be, if there's like patterns.
I'd like to see if he could tease anything out, or yeah.
So he examines the stuff, and basically he just like finds that, well, besides. It doesn't seem to be anything there statistically, other than that
sounds like what
these
I was
all
expecting.
fall within natural explanations.
Mm-hmm. It's in the middle of the bell curve, so to speak.
Yeah. A recent case that was a missing 411 was a young woman who went missing while rock climbing, and he was quick to jump on it, like right when it happened. Like, oh, this is, because he's a parasite, so he's got to be
boulders.
There. He's like, she was
bouldering.
Yeah. And he was like, oh,
There's a creek down the road.
Well, it turns out, actually, she was killed in a rock slide. They found her under a bunch of rocks, and that's why they couldn't find her initially. So she was killed in an avalanche. But he was quick to say, like, before that was found out, that she's one of the missing. Something took her.
That's another obvious thing when not all the facts are in, and he's already like building the story.
Yeah. So Kyle Polich finds that everything is reasonable explanation. It fits in with just the stats of the inherent dangers of going to these areas. It all like makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's why. But that's one thing that a lot of people who were into the conspiracy theory are drawn to it because, this is where true crime meets paranormal.
Yes. I was thinking a lot about the true crime genre.
Two awful tastes shitty together.
Yes. I can see, this is totally the two meeting.
But it's like the exploitative part of both. Like it's the worst bits of both.
Yeah.
Combined into this thing.
That macabre staring at the horrible thing plus aliens.
Yeah. And people are kind of like, they're drawn to it because it has both of those in common. But I think a lot of people today, because we live our lives in this technologically advanced world where you're always connected.
Yeah.
When somebody goes missing, it's like an error code to us. Information 411.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it sticks out to us because like that doesn't sit well with us.
It feels like something even more suspicious is happening because it's so weird, because we all do expect to always know where everybody is. Yeah. That's interesting.
You're always either on camera or you have your phone with you.
Yeah, we're all plugged into each other.
Yeah, and so the idea of somebody just disappearing without a trace is just it's like that's bizarre.
Well, and it's scary to think that it could happen. And oftentimes with conspiracy theories, people would rather believe that it's a big conspiracy that made it happen than that random thing could happen.
Yes, because that's
it's
the
more
other thing.
comforting to imagine
Yes.
that the government's in on it than that shit like that happens. People
Shit
do
like
go
that
missing,
happens.
and no one's in charge. That's
Yeah.
a scary idea.
Because that's a thing that I've tried to also drive home this idea that, like, and I've said it before, the universe doesn't care about you. It's not for you. It's not against you. Same with nature. It's not with you. It's not against you.
Yeah.
You just merely exist in it. And when you are out of our comfort area, our homes, our houses, and our cities,
you are subjected to the arbitrary roll of the dice.
Yeah, and it's like
that
in the city's
isn't even paying attention to
the
you.
city's the only danger is other people.
Sure.
That's the only monster, and I mean ultimately that's the greatest monster. But
There's
so
other
is a
ones.
bear that'll eat your face while you're alive.
Yeah. Tell that to the bear, the face-eating bear.
Yeah. So once you go out into the wilderness, you are now like anything.
You're part of the
anything
food
can happen.
chain. Yeah.
And the idea of like, oh, it's by water. Well, humans generally like to recreate next to bodies of water.
They also can't breathe in it, which is
Exactly.
interesting.
Yes. Now, some of one of the cases he examined, they followed the trail, and it is on a very precarious ledge that drops down into a raging river.
Yeah.
And the guy leading him even says, "You got to be careful. One wrong step, and you're over." Well, fuck. Maybe that's what happened to the guy. Did you ever think of that? Maybe he fell in the river, drowned, and because like we found his body, and it was 9 miles away downriver. How did he get so far? I don't know. Maybe he floated.
I'd be more curious if he was found upriver.
Yes, right. Now that
would be interesting.
That's interesting.
All right. Well, I think it might be time for Garth's Corner now. What do you think?
I think so. I think let's to wrap it all up. Yeah, there's nothing supernatural about it. Oh, also, if you take a map of all the missing people and you overlay it on a map of all known
of the population, or no,
of all known cave systems and mine networks in the United States, it's almost a direct 1-for-1 match.
Wow. So there you go.
Some of these people might have just fallen down holes, man. It happens.
It was the holes that were the monster all along.
And the way, I mean, that is portales.
Yeah.
It is the memory hole.
It's a portal.
It's
It's a portal to dead end.
Yeah, just gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, in summation, Paul Atreides, David Paulides, Badman, ACAB, racist homophobe, Trump supporter,
and charlatan,
grifter,
yes. Makes a lot of money.
borderline cult leader.
Yeah.
So
entrepreneur.
So fuck that guy. And into Garth's Corner.
All right, here we go. This will be a short one. I don't have any notes, but we're going to talk about the national parks and such. So,
more.
Yep.
Cool.
Here comes the song. I've got a president, and he's sending me thoughts, and he's rolling in his grave over the party he lost, and it is evident that he wrote into law just about the greatest thing our young nation ever saw. Then Teddy and Muir expanded the scope, and we had a bunch of national parks, which was dope, and I said that it's just about the greatest thing that our young nation ever done seen. But if you want to see it, we'll need to do some infrastructuring. So how much we want people to see it, even if they use a crutch. So how much we'll explore in this Garth's Corner, equity and such. So for this Garth's Corner, I thought I knew you were doing something that had to do with the national parks, and as a fan of the national parks myself, there's an interesting sort of a tension that's been in the national parks for a very long time, which is how much do you want to develop each park?
Yeah.
And how much, because there's a balance you want to strike. And I was always somewhat aware of this, but I became more aware when Kelly and I went to Arches last year, and I read a really great book. Let me see. Where's my laptop? Just want to make sure I get this right. Yeah, there's a great book by called Desert Solitaire by Edward Abbey. Have you heard of Edward Abbey?
Mm-mm.
He was an environmentalist and anarchist in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Like him already?
Yeah, he's a unique character with very strong opinions. I don't agree with all of his stuff, but generally he was against turning the national parks into Disneyland. He
Fair
really,
enough.
yeah. And he had a very cynical view of human society and just didn't like people. He was a ranger for a couple seasons in Arches. National Park. And
Which is why they'd have the book there.
Yeah, and this is back in like I think the 40s or 50s, and I did get the book in Arches. But back then it was not a very touristed place. There were a few dirt roads that led somewhat in, but the rest of it was just he like lived in a little camper and just. He was the ranger, so he was in charge for anyone who wanted to like come out there. And occasionally there would be people visiting the park, but it was there were no amenities whatsoever. And he was
no rules seemingly.
Yeah, and he was trying to keep it that way. He was like, his whole ethos was like, if you want to get to these beautiful arches, you've got to get on a horseback and work for it. And
which is not, it's a noble idea, not equitable.
Well, exactly. And so this is why I want to even bring up this in Garth's Corner, because his whole thing is like, hey, we don't want to mess up this beautiful land. Humans are messing up the whole countryside. Let's keep this here, and if you want to see these beautiful things, you got to work for it. But yeah, the other side would be like, well, so you have to be able-bodied and able to ride a horse and rough it to see these things. That's a nice idea, but the national parks are meant to be for everyone.
Yeah, they're America's greatest idea, as Ken Burns would say.
They are, and so it's like, do you really want to just make it so only a few people who not only are physically able but have the financial means to take that much time off? Because Edward Abbey was saying like, hey, if you want to do this right, spend a month out here with me. Or spend a month out here by yourself and don't be with me because I don't like people. Yeah. But like, get out and do it, and not everybody can. Of course, if you go the other way, which I'm sure Edward Abbey would say that they have by now because there's a paved road going all the way through Arches, you make it into a tourist thing just like Disneyland or something, where it's easy to get to all the beautiful things and no one even has to get out of their cars. But at the same time, what about people who, can't walk, who are disabled? Do they not get to see this?
Yeah.
At the same time, if you make the whole thing into a parking lot, you've just destroyed the thing you're trying to save. And the national parks themselves, like, are always in. There's people in every park that are on one side or the other of this, and it's a tension that has not abated for a good reason.
I saw in Joshua Tree as we were driving along that there was like a curb along the road, but then like it kind of was every so many feet on either side there was a break in the curb. And I'm like, what's that about?
Is that so people can't park?
It's so that if the curb is running like parallel, both sides of the road.
Yeah.
It's so that if a desert tortoise falls in, it can crawl out. There's like turtle gates.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, little turtle paths.
Turtle paths. I love it.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, and that was another thing he brought up. Like, hey, if you're gonna have a paved road going straight
animals are gonna get hit.
Yeah, and Edward Abbey was a huge fan of animals. Except for these ants. He hated the ants there. But all the other animals, he loved more than the people. He's like, get the fuck out, tourists. The animals are what's important. You're going to hit somebody with a car.
Oh, well, when you're living in paradise,
Yeah, and he
you
considered
get real
it
attached
that.
to it.
Exactly. And, I don't know. There's good arguments on both sides. I guess I would say that the way Arches does it now is pretty good because you can get to a lot of arches from your car without having to do big hikes. It would go too far according to someone like Abby, but at the same time, there's really long hikes to get to more obscure arches.
Joshua Tree was the same way.
So you get a little bit of both, and I think that's probably the best way to do it because, it should be for everybody. And even if you can't walk around, you should be able to at least see some stuff.
Yeah, I've been to many, many national parks in my life, all over the western part of the country. And so I've seen like all those kind of
You've
setups.
seen more developed ones and less developed ones.
I've seen both.
Yeah.
I've seen both. And for example, like
Yosemite's quite developed.
Pretty developed.
Yeah. So
super crowded, but it's also people take for granted. That's a pun or a play on words.
I thought it was going to be a something nim.
No.
Pentanym.
No, but people do take for granted how like narrow that valley is. The Yosemite Valley is really fucking narrow. And that's kind of what makes it so spectacular. It's like this really
because of the
deep,
tall
cliffs. It's this very deep narrow valley, long valley with these like huge cliffs on either side, which add to just that's what makes those cliffs so big. It's like, oh, it's so high up and they're so close. but I just know that like no matter where you go in that like main valley, you can hear people.
Yeah.
Because just the sound just bounces around.
There's just a lot of people
Yeah.
who go. And it's hard because like you want everyone to see it, but then you don't want to go where there's a bunch of crowds. But
Yeah.
it's like, again, equity. Like
Yeah.
if everybody gets to go see it easily, then it's overrun.
Yeah.
And too many people with the best of intentions even will wreck it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Which national park have you been to the most? Would you say
Most?
Have you done repeat visits?
I've done repeat visits to. Well, let's see. I did Olympic twice. I've been through Yosemite a few times. You said the Pinnacles is a national park?
Yeah, it's the newest one.
I went there twice a year my whole childhood for
Because it was
astronomy.
a national monument, and then it got an upgrade.
Okay.
Obama like bumped a bunch up.
I went when it was a national monument when I was a kid. Quite a bit because there was it's not far from where we live. It's just a couple hours south. And we did astronomy camping trips. And it was like geology in the day and astronomy at night. I've
been Pinnacles only once.
Pinnacles is cool.
Yosemite twice. Lassen 4 or 5 times to Lassen. Grand Canyon probably the most. I think like 6.
I've been to most of the ones in that area at this point because I did Arches, Bryce, Canyonlands.
Done those. Well, I did Canyons. Bryce, Zion.
I've been to a couple times. Kelly and I actually hiked the Narrows last year.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's
really
one
cool.
that's also super crowded. And
the Narrows was amazing because you actually have to get a permit and plan ahead, and they drop you off like at the top where you're just going along a creek bed, and it slowly turns into the Narrows. And we camped in there, so it was a 2-day hike, and we didn't see anybody till the second day.
Yeah,
we had the whole canyon tour. So
but no,
it was
there's
amazing.
there's some that are more developed, some that are of course more developed because it's like Gettysburg National Monument Cemetery.
Sure, that's a whole different kind of a thing.
Yeah,
you're not going there for wilderness.
Yeah,
very
there's
different.
other national parks that are parks for different reasons.
Yeah.
And we are very spoiled to be in California to have 9.
Geez. Yeah, some states and whole areas of the country don't have any.
Yeah. And then you look on the map.
They're all into the Rockies and
you look at the missing 411 map, and there's just like dead zones where there are no people disappearing by the criteria.
And there's no national parks.
And that's the thing is, okay, these are parks and areas. This is a great way to tie the
Oh
two
yeah,
things
no,
together.
that was Gar's Corner, by the way. So yeah,
this is a great way to tie the two together. Is that these are areas where designated areas for all Americans to go and enjoy.
This is for everyone.
Yeah, and so millions of people are visiting these places every year. And if you have millions of people coming to an area, statistically, stuff happens.
Yep.
And there's like nothing suspicious about it. Police will grasp at the most tenuous of straws, such as one case that Kyle Polich brought up was that in one case he said 2 different women went missing. Both of them had names that started with A and that were 3 letters long. One was Amy, one was Ann. Connection.
He's really running out of ideas.
Or people go missing near berry patches for some reason in the fall. Yeah, it's called fucking bears, you dumbass.
People go missing along streams where the salmon are running. I don't know.
Yeah.
What it is about that.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's weird that and there might be, and there's some national parks where this doesn't happen at all. It's only the really wilderness ones.
Yeah, the Gettysburg doesn't have any missing people.
Yeah, just ghosts. It's the most haunted national park.
I mean, yeah,
Maybe.
that makes sense.
I mean, that tracks.
Yeah.
It does have the most like hoaxed ghost videos from.
Sure, I can see that.
But yeah, anyway. So yeah, that's what I got.
Right on. Wow, that was quite a thing. That's a whole little cottage industry. I guess cottage industry has more than one.
No, it has though, because now there are dozens of YouTube channels and creators who exist, and their whole channel is just them analyzing stuff he's already done.
Okay, so it is that.
Yeah. There's a whole fucking thing, dude.
Boy, there are so many subcultures these days that there could be this whole thing, and I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Speaking of subcultures and things no one's heard of, join our Discord.
Yeah, the Least Haunted Discord. It's exclusive.
Yes,
we've got about 50
to
people.
Everybody.
We've got about 50 people on there, and it's pretty, pretty well posted. Lots of people, lots of activity on there.
Yeah, there's a core group.
A lot of fun.
You know a lot of the names. You've heard them. So come join us there. That is like the place to become a part of the Least Haunted community.
It is.
I want to thank our 2 letter senders.
Yes, thank
Margaret
you, letter senders.
and Ken. Thank you for the things. And again, Margaret, reach out to us again. I'm really curious about this.
I'm curious too, but I'm also delighted that it was just some random person who we don't know but knows us. And it's kind of neat that we have mystery fans.
Yeah, and local.
Yeah, mystery local fans. It's gonna turn out we totally know Margaret.
Yeah, and I'm gonna feel really bad. I don't know. Maybe I've brained my damage in the national
it's
park.
Quite possible you did.
I do have some missing time.
If
from
you
the
can't
park,
remember,
man.
I'm not gonna be any help, Cody.
Yeah.
So speaking of the Monster Squadron, would you like to read off all of the Monster Squadrers?
Yes, the
Are
monsters.
they called Monster Squatters?
Squatters?
If you're in a squadron,
I can't say Monster Squad because that is copyrighted. That's a movie.
You can't say that.
I can't say that.
Dren.
Huh?
The Monster Squad Drenners.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, we already have like stickers that say it on there. I was like, is it time to make me change that? Maybe?
No. I think it's fine. I was just trying to think of what a Monster Squadron member is called.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or what are like fan bases even called? If there's a.
Well, it's up to them to decide.
Yeah, that's on them.
We can't be.
I know that Mystery Science Theater people are Misties. My old band, the Ghost of Rights, we had Ghosties.
It's pretty good. So something ease.
Maybe. Anyway,
leasties.
Patron leasties. But they are, but
least but not leasties.
But in our heart, they're the mosties.
Yeah, we love you, the mosties.
Our patron producers are Monster Squadron, Travis Alexander, By Barbarian, Rachel Krieger, Tom Dahl, Justin Duckham, Kelly Flynn, Gunnar Franks, Carla Harrington, Havelock, Christina Hurley, New Jared, Ken with 2 N's, Brian Lamb, TJ Levenhagen, Alicia Overton, Jordan Ramey, a different one but the same one, Blue Roan, SETI Fan, and Tatum.
Thank you, one. Thank you all. Great to have you. And yeah.
I was going to say, I was going to share something that would make more people jealous that they missed out on that camping trip.
Do it.
We had a screening of the first episode of the Road Trip Show.
Oh my gosh.
Garth hasn't even seen it.
Garth needs to work on episode 2. Garth has a little bit of animation to do.
Oh.
Ooh. So, yeah, that's cool. They got to see that. I hope
so. It does exist. It does exist. I am
our mystery project of many years is still in the making. Yes.
I'm feeling a little. I mean, I'm doing all this thing where I'm calling out David Paulides for his little like money making scheme. I'm like, he has like a Patreon.
I don't think we're gonna make any money on this.
Yeah, I know.
This is just for the love.
We keep promising this project. We have no answers yet. No, it's coming. It's coming. I swear.
Yeah, we're not gonna give you blue balls for years and years for nothing.
I mean, it's only been 2 years at this point. Officially last week.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Anyway,
that's enough.
That's enough. We got stuff to do, places to be, things to look into.
We will see you all in 2 weeks for the next episode of the Least Haunted Podcast.
And until then, remember, the only thing that's haunted
is you.
Say goodbye.
It's 2:02 exactly at the Cum Spot, KOME, San Jose.
The Least Haunted Podcast is recorded before a dead studio audience and is a presentation of Sequoidea Productions, LLC.